7 o'clock, we can start. It is 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Crystal City Council to order. Before we take roll call, just a quick programming note for you. Those of you who follow along at home, or maybe you don't, our mayor has been absent for the last few meetings. He had a fairly nasty personal injury. I talked to him this weekend. He's now walking around, albeit with the help of crutches, so he's getting back to it, but then unfortunately had to attend a funeral this evening, or tomorrow, had to be out of town for a funeral. So you get me. I'm the acting mayor, or if you want to be fancy, mayor pro tem. That's probably Latin or something, but so I'll be calling the shots tonight. I get the gavel and everything, promise. So let's take roll.
Mayor Adams is absent. Councilmember Budiszewski.
Here.
Councilmember Dahl.
Here.
Councilmember Deschler.
Here.
Councilmember Kolb.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Here.
Councilmember Parsons.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we have an agenda in front of us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make
Ms.
a motion
Parsons.
to approve the agenda.
Any second? Nancy?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The agenda is approved. We have an appearance this evening. Chief?
Mayor Pro Tem Kolb and Council, thank you very much for allowing us to be in front of you today. I promise we won't take too long, but this is a very special and important event.
You take as long as you want.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Deputy Chief Hubbard, if you could step forward, please. As you can see by the room, it's filled with family and friends for this important swearing-in event. So thank you again for allowing us to do this. Deputy Chief Brian Hubbard began his law enforcement career in 2007 as a police officer with the Edina Police Department. Brian had been involved in numerous initiatives with the Edina Police Department, including developing the Citizens Police Academy, neighborhood engagement officer programs, hosting the department's Beyond the Badge cable TV show. Oh, did you hear that? I just want to make sure you heard it because I'm really, I would love something like that here. But anyway, we'll get to that another time. Yes.
If we have that, you'll have to play guitar for everyone.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. Okay, teaching children and teens through the DARE Junior Police Safety Camp and Teen Safe Driving programs. Brian is certified as a drug recognition evaluator, a crisis intervention officer and instructor, and a DARE instructor, and has completed numerous other specialized trainings. He received the Officer of the Year Award and a department commendation and has served as field training officer. Brian also spent 2 years as a school resource officer at Edina High School, and in 2014 he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. He also serves as an adjunct faculty and lead instructor in the law enforcement program at Hennepin Technical College. Before joining the Edina Police Department, he served for 2 years as a corrections officer at the Sherburne County Jail. Prior to entering into the field of law enforcement, Brian had a very successful 16-year career working with the YMCA. Working in numerous communities throughout the Twin Cities, he served as a youth worker, summer camp director, and community development director. His final assignment before making the difficult decision to leave the Y to be able to spend more time with his family was as the executive director at the YMCA in Woodbury for 5 years. Brian currently serves on the board of directors for the Minnesota Law Enforcement Memorial Association and New Life Family Services, where he is the immediate past chairperson. He has also served as the president of the board of directors for the West Metro Fire District in New Hope. He is a member and very active volunteer at New Hope Church. Brian's education includes a BS in police science from St. Mary's University and an AS in law enforcement from Minneapolis Community and Technical College. In his free time, which by reading that, you would think not much free time, but in his free time to play racquetball, camp, exercising, and spending much time with family and friends. Brian and his wife Heather have 3 children and resides in New Hope. And on August 20th, 2018, we were privileged and honored to hire Brian as a deputy police chief. And after he's sworn in by Mayor Pro Tem Kolb, Deputy Chief Hubbard will have his badge pinned on by his daughter, Katie.
Nice.
So, Mayor Pro Tem Kolb, if you could step forward, please. Brian, I'll have you step.
I'm on.
I, Brian Hubbard, do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
The laws of the state of Minnesota.
the laws of the state of Minnesota,
And the ordinances of the city of Crystal.
and the ordinances of the city of Crystal.
I further affirm
I further affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge my duties as the deputy chief
discharge my duties as the deputy chief
in providing assistance and service
in providing assistance and service
to all who look to me for help,
to all who look to me for help,
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Oh, sorry. That was good. That was good. Katie, come on up. Good job. If you need to pull them hard, you can. Again, thank you. I'm going to actually turn it over to Brian. He may take a long time. No, I'm just kidding. He won't.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, thanks for the opportunity to address you. I will make this very brief and say, as many that I've interacted with know, I wasn't looking for a new job. I was very happy with what I was doing. Edina was a great place to work. I worked with phenomenal people in a really good city. I received a call from a colleague who said, hey, do you know Crystal's looking for a deputy chief? I said, I'm not looking for a job. Well, go ahead and look into it. And the more I looked into this police department and how we function in this city, the more I found that we have great cops here who do good work every day. And for me, having spent my entire growing up years in Crystal and now for the last 20 plus years, 3 blocks into the other city next door, the opportunity to come back and police in my community and try and make an impact on the folks. Community outreach has always been very important to me in my previous life and my current life. The opportunity to come back to my community and try and make an impact where we live, where we work, where we shop was one I really couldn't pass up. And so I'm humbled and very appreciative to the chief for the opportunity to be here, and very excited to work with a fantastic group of colleagues coming up. So thank you very much.
Congratulations. Welcome to the team. You should stand up.
So, of course, as I say every time we do this, I ask that you allow the family and friends to leave, not that they don't want to sit here.
Request denied.
Thank you. I tried, Heather.
All right, everyone has to stay. There's lots of good stuff on your agenda. Oh, please. Be gone. Do something else with your time. Thank you.
Hi.
If I was to rank the coolest things we do here, it's Cub Scouts coming in and leading the Pledge of Allegiance, #1, and then swearing in new police officers, #2. It's very cool to see these guys come in and with their families behind them and their huge support structures, and it's always really awesome to see that. So, all right, now we'll get on to the really exciting stuff, the consent agenda. So the consent agenda, We will consider the following items which are routine and non-controversial in nature, and we will do this all in one single motion. So we will approve the minutes from the following meetings: the City Council meeting on August 21st, the City Council work session on that same date, the City Council budget work session on August 23rd, approval of the list of license applications submitted to the city by the city clerk to the City Council, and a list. That list's on file in the office of the city clerk. Wow. Approval of a resolution accepting the following donations: $249.21 from donation boxes for Crystal Police K-9 unit, thanks to everybody who donated there, and $600 from the Lions Club of Crystal for the Crystal Frolics. Thank you to the Crystal Lions. Approval of an agreement with Hennepin County for the city to be reimbursed for the costs related to installation of accessible pedestrian signals at Sherburne Avenue as part of the Bass Lake Road Streetscape project, and approval of a resolution revising the assessment for 5633 Twin Lake Terrace North. Any questions on any of that from anybody? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
And move approval.
I'll second it.
Elizabeth, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Number 5, we are on to open forum. Open forum is a time where we set a little bit of time aside to hear from citizens on items that they want to speak to us about. I'll skip the part about the time limits because we really only have one person, and I think you can keep it to under 10 minutes if you could. Mr. Reinfeld Brown. Please approach and just let us know your name and address for the record. And then have at it.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is James Einfeld Brown. I reside at 6315 55th Avenue North, apartment 124. Tonight I'm here to publicly thank you and the police department for the generosity and love that you showed my dad at his funeral. My dad's name is Earl Robert Brown. He died at age 92. The flowers were very nice. The 2 officers that the police department sent, I would say my dad would be very proud and smiling to see that they were there. When he moved to the city in '53, about 5 years after, the city of Crystal asked him to start up a police reserve unit. He and a neighbor, Lloyd Scudder, did that. He spent 23 years on the force, spending numerous hours, leaving the house at 5:30 in the evening, getting home about 3:30, 4 in the morning, after he did all the stuff that was necessary and that they could come home. He spent time, I would say he spent about 10 hours every night. He spent time over in Fridley, Minneapolis, with disasters. Spent time with Robbinsdale, New Hope, Golden Valley, doing their city events as well. I remember getting 25 tickets to the Klein Amusements over there through my father in order to ride them free of charge. Going to football games with him when I was at Cooper, not having to pay a dime for football games, going through the gate in a green Chevy Suburban with a yellow bubble on top. It was so vivid. I'd like to know where that vehicle is today. And with all the hours that he spent, I figured it out that he spent about 23,000 hours working, volunteering for the city. And if I figured everything out right, that during his time, averaging out starting salary in '58 to starting salary today at $28.50 an hour, spending 23,000 hours, that would have been $655,500 of volunteer hours that he spent for the city. And I know he was proud of the city And I would like to thank you again for all the things that you've done. And I know that he would be proud of the city today for the police force that it has and the chief that it has. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Sounds like a remarkable man. Okay. We will move on to number 6. Item number 6 on the agenda is to receive, comment, and consider a new off-sale liquor license for Super Value Inc., doing business as Cub Wine and Spirits, located at 5301 36th Avenue North. Chrissy?
Thank you, Mayor, Pro Tem, and Council. Super Value is applying for a new off-sale liquor license to do business as Cub Wine and Spirits. They would like to add a liquor store to the current grocery store, which will occupy approximately 5,200 square feet and have a separate entrance. Cub Food presently holds an off-sale 3.2% malt liquor license. However, a new full off-sale does require a public hearing and a new application. All of the necessary paperwork and background have been completed. The contents of the application information have been verified, and the information has been verified. Notice of tonight's public hearing was published in the Sun Post on August 23rd and mailed to owners within 500 feet. There is a resident here to speak tonight at the public forum or public hearing, and staff is recommending approval of the license. And additionally, Ed Sherling, the liquor operations manager from Super Value, is here to speak to you as well.
Okay. I will open the public hearing at this point. Yes, I will. Yes, I did. I just did. It's open.
Good evening.
Good to see you. Yes. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
I'm just here to, like I said, get approval for our license that we want to have at the Crystal Cub store. It's going to be inside the store. I think we've been, throughout the whole Twin Cities, we're very big in the community. Our number one priority is that we sell to no minors. We strongly enforce that throughout all of our stores. Just looking for approval from you guys tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
If you could just talk about your procedure in terms of liquor sales that you currently have for the store, just kind of.
Okay, so we are open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then on Sundays 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Our registers are actually set up to where if it's not 8:01, it won't take a sale or anything like that. So there's nothing we can ever sell before that. And then if you would happen to be into the store at 10 o'clock and you're in the middle of a sale, it'll cut the sale off and there'll be no sale. So we never have to worry about selling before or after any of the time of what's on our license.
So your current proposal is there would be a separate liquor store that would be attached? Or
no, it's going to be inside the grocery store.
So,
but it'll have a separate entrance to get to it.
Can I just have a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
And so there will be, so if let's say if I was coming to Cub to purchase alcohol or whatever, let's say alcohol.
Yes, sir.
I would be able to have alcohol and food in my cart and go through the checkout lanes, or would I have to purchase my alcohol separate?
Correct. You have to purchase separate.
Like what you currently have at other existing Cub stores within the city?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then lastly, one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about how the registers don't allow liquor sales. What about for the procedure of validating the individual that's in front of you is older?
So our policy is that if anybody's under 40 years old, we ask for their ID, and if there's over 40, then we ask for what their birth date is.
And that has to be entered into the system in order for the sale to go through?
Yes. So if we're looking at the ID, we're going to type in, whatever the birth date is that's under the license if they're under 40 years of age. And if they're over 40 years of age, then we will ask for their birth date, and then we'll take.
And that policy has been working for you throughout the city?
Yep.
Have you ever had any issues with underage sales at any of the Cub stores? No. I don't think they've ever come up in front of us in terms of Me-Too liquor sales issues. So, that's from what I recall from being on the council. So, thank you.
Yep, you're most welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Yep, you're most welcome. Thank you.
And then I do have a resident wishing to speak. It's got two names, so whoever wants to come up, or both, either or, both, whichever. If you could just please speak your name and address into the, when you start, it's for just to get it on the public record.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Dallas Kane. This is my wife, Christina.
Hello.
And we live right behind Cub Foods. And we're just, we're not really thrilled about the idea of another liquor store going in there. We're pretty happy when Chalet closed, because we've had quite a bit of, there's a double fence there between our property and Cub Foods, and we've had quite a bit of trespassers come through there, including, when Chalet was there, we saw, guys, with a case of beer sneaking through, cutting through the yard. And so we're just concerned about that and, kind of traffic and additional trespassing, because that fence is not very secure, too. So, so we're...
I'd like to add that when we had those trespassers come through, we were out in our backyard just raking, and it was daylight, and this adult man, at this time in particular, was with a teenage child cutting through our yard, and there's been times where we've had people climbing the fence in the middle of the night that we've heard. We've had to put up barricades. We've heard them break in the middle of the night. We've had evidence that people have been there, so we've had to do multiple things to block that. We've also seen numerous fences along the Cub Foods behind there get kicked out. We've had shoplifters come, even a woman who's come to our back door in tears claiming she was abused, and it turned out she was a shoplifter, and I accidentally harbored her thinking she was abused. And we just don't think that more alcohol sales in that area is going to help any of the situation. It feels to us like, especially since the Hy-Vee opened up and now there's that Cub there, that there's been a lot more trouble that's been coming to the Cub, and to the point that we don't like shopping there anymore, and we avoid it at night. And we live directly behind where the old liquor store was. So this is our backyard. We see and hear through our backyard everything that happens in that Cub Foods parking lot. They have visual into our backyard. And it just, it makes us uneasy to hear about this. Especially looking through here and seeing how many 4 different places sold to minors within our neighborhood. I don't know if we need one more place. I'd like to see, when the liquor store closed down in our backyard, it was nice. It was nice to have the quiet. It was nice to not have feeling like there were strangers who could look through your fence and you wouldn't even know it. Less trespassing, less trouble. It'd be nice to have something more family friendly. We appreciated the remodeling that Cub did, and they put in a little, section with their coffee shop where they had games, and trying to lean towards that, but now they want to put in a liquor store leaning the other direction, and I just feel like our neighborhood needs some more family-friendly things at this point, and it's time. All along 36 there isn't anything of that sort that would be attracting family units, and there's this great big building back there that could be a prime source for something that would be, I don't even know what, just something more family-friendly for the kids and all that. So those are our concerns about that. It's our backyard that we're talking about. We've been there a long time, and we've made lots of improvements to the home and continue to. We're not planning on selling anytime soon. There was a time with all this trespassing that we were like, we need to get out of here. We don't feel good about being here. But we want to stay it out and pay the house off, and we're a part of the, that was our friends from church. Heather was Aiden's, son Aiden's Sunday school teacher, and we're going to the Beacon School now, and so we're pretty devoted there and want just to see the neighborhood improve and not to have problems come back with another liquor store or maybe see something else there instead.
So just if it's going to go through, I would ask if you can maybe make a contingent on securing that fence better, so that we don't have traffic with people that can't be bothered to walk 2 more blocks to get their alcohol.
Okay.
And the garbage. Can I add the garbage? It's bad between that double fence. It piles high. So anyway. That's our 2 cents.
You have a question for them?
Yeah,
Your
question, yeah. So the fence you're talking about is the fence that's behind Chalet Liquor, right? So that's
Yeah.
directly to the west of that property,
Yeah.
correct? Or east side of the
Yeah,
property?
east.
East side, so that section, does Cub, are they responsible for that section of fence?
I had called Cub about the garbage.
Yeah.
And, well, first I called the liquor store. They said Cub was responsible. I called Cub. Someone met me out there, cleaned it up once.
Okay,
Hasn't since. We've had to put up lattice panels and stuff just to cover the garbage and keep it from coming into our yard because there's no way we can get in there.
When it still gets in there.
Yeah, when there still gets.
Blows around, it's like a,
so there's access through the property to the east side to the residential area?
So with the double fence, it goes like this, and then there's another one behind it that's supposed to go like this, and there's a gap that comes from the liquor store parking lot through that double fence, and that goes straight into our backyard. Our backyard is half of that property and half the neighbor's backyard.
we're
if
right
that
at the
makes sense.
corner, because the fence goes around the corner.
Okay.
The corner's like right behind our house, and there's, the chain link fence is closer to our house, and then there's a wooden fence that's on, I think it's all on their property, but, the wooden fence closer to the parking lot. And what's happened too is there's a tree that's grown up through there and pulled the chain link away from the post.
Right.
So they can get, if somebody wants to get, it's like a secret passageway back there, that is too tempting of a shortcut for a lot of folks. So,
Go ahead.
I was wondering where in the existing building this liquor store would be. Is there a diagram anywhere?
Yeah.
And maybe we could put it up on screen, or hope that helps.
is all
This is just
from us.
actually
Oh, if you want to stay, that's great.
That's just the blueprints of the liquor store itself.
Is it gonna be within the existing
Yeah,
structure?
it's inside the store.
So they're not gonna build more
Nope.
onto it?
It's inside the store. And I'm not for sure exactly what's,
Do you know which end?
I think it's the northeast corner of the building. Sort of where the cards are now, or used to be, the station area.
Oh, that
Stationary area.
Or like the pharmacy and the.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's.
if you've been to like a Target, when they've remodeled the Target, they've actually done a liquor store inside some of the Targets. That's kind of what it's going to look like.
Thanks, John. That's real helpful. So the existing chalet I've heard on social media that may be turning into a North Memorial Clinic. Do you know?
Yes, we did receive a zoning certificate application for that today.
Okay.
North is proposing to expand the chalet building and remodel it into a medical clinic. They're going to add about 3,000 square feet to the south end of that building and redo the site improvements. So that should help.
Would help with the fencing?
Oh, well, I made a lot of notes while these folks were speaking about things we need to check into, but that's certainly something that will be addressed as part of the site plan review that we're doing at a staff level.
Okay.
So we have some homework to do, but I think that might be considered some good news in that, in addition to the liquor store, it appears that the old chalet building is also going to be remodeled and expanded and the site improvements refreshed.
Nice.
Does that help answer some
Dr.
questions or
Hoff, this is
concerns?
good.
Yeah, that's definitely community boost.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you
This
so
one we
much.
have, I think.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
John, you said that you took notes while they were speaking, so there are some things that you can follow up on, and what are some of the things that can be realistically addressed?
Well, the first thing that caught my ear was what is the condition of the wood fence that Cub Foods needs to keep maintained? If there are in fact missing boards, sections that have been kicked out, that sort of thing. The wood and the chain link fence, the way they interact, if there's a tree or other volunteer trees growing up that's that are pushing the fences apart and creating gaps, that is also a maintenance issue that we can address. To my knowledge, we haven't received any complaints about these items, at least not recently, but we'll, based on the testimony tonight, we'll certainly check into that and address anything that we see.
Excellent. Thank you.
I just had one question. Out of curiosity, did you ever contact the police department about any of these trespassing issues?
So not the, no, we didn't. Because there was either the evidence of it, which was like, okay, what can we do about this to barricade it ourselves? We tried to talk with Hub about it once, and they didn't really have any answers for us. So we ended up taking the barbed wire ourselves and trying to rewrap it up. And like I said, buying privacy lattices and putting on, put a no trespassing sign on the opposite side, so that that little tunnel, that's what they would see. We've had people still try to climb it because it is broken. And then the woman who I accidentally harbored, who turned out to be a shoplifter, I didn't know she was until after she left our home. I was driving by Cub, saw the police officers, and I just pulled in and said, so did something happen? Because we just had this woman come and she was claiming she was being abused. That's when I found out. So it was our mistake that we didn't, but it just seemed
A lot of citizens don't know that this is something that they should report, and that's the reason why I asked, because we can do, as a city, we can do a lot more for you when these things are reported. Even if we can't validate it at the time, it really helps our police force if they know that there's a problem property, because then they can come and check on it and do, we have record. After, we have our 3 strikes rule too, so after there's been, I think, 3 times that something has happened on a property, that we're able to address it in a much more aggressive fashion. So,
Thanks so much.
I could ask the press to keep it down in the back. I mean, bless you. Okay. Anybody else wanting to speak at the public hearing? No. Okay, I will close the public hearing now. Do we have, let's see here, anything else from the council to staff or anybody else? Debate, questions, thoughts? Okay, I have a question for Troy.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask it, and I'll just ask it as a straight question. Do we have the ability to attach a condition to a liquor license like you do to a conditional use permit or something like that?
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, and Council, liquor licenses typically do not come with, are not typically conditioned like you would a conditional use permit. There are situations where you can condition licenses, so it's not impossible to attach conditions to them, but they would need to be related to the operation itself, the liquor operation itself. So if it's more of a property maintenance issue, those sorts of things, I would discourage the council from attempting to add those types of conditions, and instead utilize the existing resources that you have through staff to look at the property maintenance code, those sorts of things, and make it clear. Of course, you certainly can make it clear verbally to the applicant that what your expectations are as a council, short of adding it as a condition to the license.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Questions, comments? Anyone want to make a motion? John?
I'll make a motion to approve the off-sale liquor license for Super Value, Inc., doing business as Cub Wine and Spirits, located at 5301 36th Avenue North.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Let me just add, since Troy made this clear, to make this perfectly clear verbally to Cub Foods, we do expect you to be a good neighbor. We do have expectations when it comes to property maintenance and making sure to upkeep on things. And as we move forward with this project, in that I believe it's the same owner, the same property company or something. Anyway, the point is, we'll be keeping an eye on this, so thank you for bringing your concerns forward, and hopefully we've got some good things. And as Elizabeth mentioned, please make sure to call in anything, even as kind of small as it may seem. you're not bothering the police. That's their job. They may not come. It may not be the very first thing that they respond to, but they'll come and take the information, and we can. We need to have a documentation trail on things like this because we do have more tools in the toolbox to deal with nuisance properties and things like that. So. Thanks again for coming out and expressing that concern, and thank you for your application, and I trust you will be a responsible neighbor. Cub has been a good partner in the community for a lot of things, but there's always some things we can do a little bit better, so we'll do that. At that point, we have a first and a second, and then I monologued, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Move on. So item number 1 in the regular agenda, we will consider approval of disbursements over $25,000 submitted by the Finance Department just under the wire to the City Council. The list is on file in the office of the Finance Department. We have a relatively short list tonight, so I'll read through it. We have the Golden Valley Joint Water Commission, our July water costs in the amount of $229,933. Paulda and Sons for Phase 16 street reconstruction in the amount of $155,000. Our good friends at Para for the 8/24 pay date, $52,324. Rachel Contracting Inc. for the Welcome Park improvements for $149,589. And everybody's favorite, the IRS, withholding for the 8/10 pay date in the amount of $58,122.65. Our total expenditures over $25,000 is $645,319.41. Any questions on any of those? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the list of disbursements over $25,000.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Olga, you can have it because you talked loud. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Item number 7.2 on the agenda, we will consider civil penalties for the violation of the liquor license regulations by Needin Dough Inc., doing business as Broadway Bar and Pizza, located at 5632 West Broadway. City Clerk Chrissy Saras addressing the council. Chrissy.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. As you recall, the police department conducts periodic compliance checks for licensed liquor establishments to ensure businesses are operating in accordance with laws and ordinances. Compliance checks for licensed liquor establishments were conducted in May of this year. As a result, several businesses did not pass these compliance checks, the first of which is Broadway Bar and Pizza. As is the case with each of the violations before you tonight, an employee of the business has pleaded guilty in court to the offense of selling alcohol to an underage person. The licensee was notified by mail of tonight's meeting in which a representative could come and talk with you about the violation that occurred. This licensee also had a liquor license violation on November 19th of 2017. Therefore, tonight's violation is being considered a second violation per city code. To my knowledge, a representative of the business is not here tonight, and I have not received any correspondence from the licensee thus far. Consistent with city code, staff is recommending a $1,500 fine and 3-day license suspension.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of staff or the police department on this particular matter? Okay, seeing nobody from the business here, we will. Got a flow chart here. I got to follow my flow chart. Okay, any questions from anything? I guess we just did that. All right. John, you have a motion?
I'll make a motion based on the staff report, including the findings contained herein and the other information presented regarding this matter, that a penalty of $1,500 and a license suspension of 3 days be imposed in this case.
Julie?
I'm going to second that.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay. Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, let's do a roll.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Dahl.
Nay.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Councilmember Kolb.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Nay.
Councilmember Parsons.
Nay.
Motion tied, motion fails.
Okay, so now I'd entertain a different motion. Don't throw me a tie vote
I
here.
mean, can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
There was no discussion. It's their second offense. I don't know, I mean, what are you, where's your heartburn, I guess, for the people that said no?
Holda's about to say something.
My heartburn has always been the license suspension of, I prefer to go with the civil fine and a lesser license suspension. It's always been up to discussion and our own level of comfort. So I'm fine with the license suspension in this case, but not all the 3 days. So I'd love another motion, if somebody could make that. Or I can make a motion.
Any other discussion on this before we take a motion?
My feelings are very similar to Holda's.
Agreed.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Go ahead.
All right, so I'll make a motion for a civil fine of $1,500 and a license suspension of 1 day.
There's a
I'll
second on
second that.
Okay, discussion on that particular thing. Okay, so this will be odd because we're gonna probably end up tied again.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, and then I don't know where we go because I don't.
We just keep batting it around.
Go, okay. Go ahead.
I think the chief wants
Chief
to
wants
say
to
something.
say something.
Yes.
Do you mind, Mayor?
No, please. The
Maybe
more the
this
merrier.
won't sway you at all, but I'm going to try. What is concerning to the police department is that we are seeing quite a few failures of liquor license violations over the last year, and you're going to see some more probably in the next couple months. And I think because of that, we need to start holding the businesses accountable for it. And because if we do that, perhaps the business owners will understand that this is taken seriously, which I know it is by you. But if with the 3-day suspension, they'll see that we do take it seriously, and they will make sure that their employees are trained properly. And we, as you know, offer that training for free. And they too, the businesses, a lot of them do that same similar training, but we as a city want to make sure that we keep our youth safe. And I'm concerned that if we continue to not hold them accountable, we're going to continue to see these liquor violations.
Julie?
Yeah, I kind of concur with the police chief. I'm pretty, I like to think that I'm empathetic, for making a mistake. So the first time I'm kind of willing to cut some slack and be as understanding as possible. But we are seeing an inordinate amount of liquor offenses, and it's like, come on, people, what is going on? Do your job. And sometimes I think, as mean and maybe as this might seem to some people, it's like, own up. This is your business. Do your job. Train them properly. And so, that's why I'm not going to vote in favor of the 1 day. I might entertain 2 days, but it's going to hurt. But I think that's what we got to do is we got to hurt them and say, wake up. You got to take this seriously. And I don't believe that last year when you offered those classes, if I remember correctly, there was only one business maybe that attended. Correct. Out of all of them. So I'm going to be curious this year to see how many businesses show up. Too. I'm going to be watching it.
Go ahead.
Based on what Julie said, I wanted to offer a friendly amendment to 2 days suspension with a $1,500 fine.
Okay.
Do you accept the amendment?
Yes, I do. I can amend my motion. Is that?
Mr. Mayor, is actually now the body's motion. So if you'd like to amend, it would be a motion to amend the motion to have it a 2-day suspension instead of the 1-day suspension.
Follow the rules.
And then that would have to be seconded and voted on.
Okay.
Do that.
All right, so I make a motion to suspend.
Nope, to amend.
To amend the current motion, amended to a penalty of $1,500 and a license suspension of 2 days be imposed in this case.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just to be clear then, now the vote is on the amendment just to increase the penalty to 2 days and keeping the $1,500.
Okay. So we're going to have a vote right now on amending to 2 days. That's all we're voting on.
Not actually imposing the penalty.
Not imposing the penalty. So all in favor of amending the amendment?
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, sorry.
Opposed.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Opposed.
Councilmember Dahl.
Aye.
Councilmember Deschler.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Kolb.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, what you have before you now is a proposed penalty of $1,500 and a 2-day license suspension.
Correct. Okay. Questions, comments on that? I'm still voting against this one. Here's the deal. I didn't speak last time. Maybe I should have. I don't know. But I'm more than willing to work with you on the one mistake. Part of what we do is we assess, how your business operates, what policies and procedures you have in place. You come and you tell us, okay, this is what we're going to do differently. This is how we're going to change our business model. This is how we're going to, we're going to do these different practices. We're going to do more training. We're going to do whatever. And based on that, we're going to set your penalty in the first round, to where we feel is appropriate. Clearly, whatever Broadway Pizza came up with the first time didn't work. And I have not seen any mitigating evidence from them that makes me think that we should do anything except for the full penalty. So that's my opinion on this particular matter. So now I've spoken my piece. And now I will call the question. So all in favor of a $1,500 civil fine and a 2-day license suspension, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. All right.
Councilmember Dahl.
Can I change my vote? No, I'm thinking at this point, may I explain something? As I've been sitting here thinking about this, one of the differences with Broadway Pizza is it's not actually selling alcohol. Like it's not, its main business is not liquor. So it seems to me, as I've been sitting here weighing this, I'm saying, I don't know if this really matters so much. Because whether it's 2 days or 3 days, it's really not going to be that much more of a penalty for them. It's not like we're dealing with a, blue liquor that we would shut down their business for 3 days.
Okay.
So, in the interest of not having this go back and forth, I would like to change.
Well, you can change your vote up until it's recorded. So.
All right. So on the table, it is to vote for this. So I will say nay at this point.
So 3 and 3, nay.
Okay.
Councilmember Deschler.
No, it's putting.
For what it's worth, I'll change my vote too, because
Didn't I fix
obviously
it?
there's no appetite, and I'm not going to fight over like one more day. So we
Yeah,
can
this
just revote
seems
or
ridiculous.
record our votes and move forward. So I agree. You compelling evidence.
So nay.
I think
That
you
way
wanna
we're
vote no.
gonna.
Yeah, and then we'll just go back to the original motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because otherwise, we're just going to go back and forth. And
So you say nay.
Councilmember Deschler says nay. Mayor Pro Tem Kolb.
Says nay.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Nay.
Motion fails.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion back to the original fine of $1,500 and a 3-day license suspension.
I second that motion.
Fantastic. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Look at that.
Thank you.
Got it nailed down. I'll just
Look at that.
That
we
was a
worked
lot
it
of
out.
work.
It always is, but you know what? Something about the sausage being made and blah, blah, blah. Part of being a deliberative body is deliberating, and deliberating is not always, easy. I'd rather have us deliberate than just kind of go.
Well, we don't work in a vacuum, so. you have
And
to
I'm
deliberate.
disappointed we didn't hear any correspondence or a person attending tonight, too.
All right, moving on.
Yep.
Now I lost my sheet. 7 point, we already did knead and dough.
Chipotle.
Who's next? Chipotle. We will consider, I'm going to read my script because I just feel like I should. So the agenda item number 7.3 is dealing with the liquor license at Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado LLC, doing business as Chipotle Mexican Grill number 764. The matter requires the council to consider and provide an opportunity for a hearing regarding the potential imposition of administrative civil penalties for an alleged violation of section 1200.35 of the Crystal Code. Let's hear the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The circumstances are the same as the previous violation in that the employee of the business has pleaded guilty in court to the offense. The licensee was notified of tonight's meeting. Chipotle has admitted to the violation and provided a written waiver to a hearing and acceptance of any administrative penalties the council may impose. Chipotle had a previous liquor license violation on December 23rd, 2016. Therefore, tonight's violation is being considered a second violation per city code. Consistent with the code, staff is recommending a $1,500 fine and 3-day license suspension.
Go ahead.
Nope, I was just going to make the motion.
I'm not ready. Give me 1 second. This one in particular, these guys were just here. Both times they have shown a complete lack of any accountability for their actions. In both of the police reports, it's been just a flagrant violation. I wish that there was a way to turn up the penalty, because these guys have really I do not like what I'm reading at all. They both of these reports, as I said, have it's just like yeah, okay, we did it, and it's not okay. So I would be strongly in favor of the full deal.
And to comment on that, Mayor Pro Tem, I mean, in this case, if they poo-poo this penalty, they'll be back again, and you'll be able to deliver.
Yeah, I hope we don't get there, but boy, is that frustrating.
Yes.
I mean, clearly they're not getting the message.
Yeah, and reading the report here, it said the fact that alcohol was involved, it had to be approved by a manager, and the manager approved it.
Yep.
That just blows me away.
I don't think he was 21, too. I don't know if that's
The
part of
manager
policy.
wasn't 21?
Yeah.
Oh. Date of birth, 1998.
I don't want to calculate. That's when I graduated high school.
He's
so
just shy of 21.
I don't want to know how many years have passed since then.
All right.
Anything else? You wanted to make a motion?
Yeah,
Go
I
for
make
it.
a motion that Chipotle be given a $1,500 fine and a 3-day liquor license suspension.
John, go ahead.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that one's going to pass unanimously. Thank you. 7.4, let's see what MGM Liquor Warehouse has to say. We have, 7.4 is dealing with a liquor license at MGM Liquor Warehouse. This requires the council's consider and provide an opportunity for a hearing regarding to the potential imposition of administrative civil penalties for an alleged violation of section 1200.35 of the Crystal Code. Let's hear the staff report.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Again, the circumstances are the same, and the employee of the business has pleaded guilty in court to the offense. The licensee was notified of tonight's meeting. The licensee also had a liquor license violation on December 23rd, 2016. Therefore, tonight's violation is being considered a second violation per city code. There is a representative here from MGM to speak with the council tonight. Consistent with the code, staff is recommending a $1,500 fine and 3-day license suspension.
Okay, so anyone have questions of the staff at this point? Okay, I would ask the individual to step forward and come to the podium, please. So you have the option to request a formal hearing, or you may waive a formal hearing and instead offer testimony in mitigation of the potential penalties the council may impose. Do you wish to request a formal hearing?
No.
We are not requesting a formal hearing. Thank you. So you have declined a formal hearing. Do you have any comments you would like to give the council as potential mitigating factors as we decide the potential penalties to impose? Thank you.
Well, I've been with the store for 14 years, and yeah, I failed once before, and this is my second time. But this last year, we've had a lot of crime. 3 assaults on the owner from shoplifters and that, and he distracted me because he thought somebody had shoplifted, and I turned off my thing for listening for customers, and I was paying attention to him to see what the monitor was doing. And I didn't ask the young man for an ID. And that's not a good excuse. I should have did my job. But like I said, the owner's been assaulted 3 times. So when he says something's going on, I have to pay attention. We didn't have a 3rd person in the store that day. So that's what happened. And I accept the fault for that. But I would really appreciate it is don't blame them, because he's been through a lot. He's old. That's why he's not here tonight. His health is bad. He had to come back out of retirement because family problem and that. So, it's like I've been through the courses, through the chief's course. She knows me. And we try to do everything. We've passed. I passed a lot of times and that. So I went to court. I pled guilty. I did it. And I took my fine and that. But I don't think the owner of the store should be, because I let him down.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Okay. All right. Thank you. After hearing from this gentleman, does anyone have any further questions of the staff? Questions of the staff? No. Any discussion on this particular matter?
In this particular case, because as I stated before, Broadway Pizza does not primarily sell alcohol. In this case, they do. And for that reason, I would say either reduce the license suspension amount or waive it. I think that the fine should stay, but I believe that it would be in the best interest of cooperating in this scenario, especially after we had this gentleman come speak, to allow them to still operate.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments on that thought process? Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Well, I know on paper it's their 2nd offense, but they've been here before, in my tenure as on the council, several times. So I am not feeling soft anymore. I know it's a 3-day, and I know it's going to hurt, but dang it, this is, I'm tired of having these people keep coming and coming and coming. Somebody's got to learn to wake up, and if it takes 3 days suspension to, have them open their eyes, well, that's the way it is. So I'm still staying steadfast on the 3 days and the 1,500.
Okay. Anybody else? Take a motion from whoever wants to do it first. Go ahead, John.
I make a motion that based on the staff report, including the findings contained therein and the other important information presented regarding this matter, that a penalty of $1,500 and a license suspension of 3 days be imposed in this case.
Julie, you'll second
I will
it?
second it, yep.
Okay, all in favor of that motion for $1,500 and a 3-day suspension, say aye.
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 Opposed? No opposed? Okay. That passes. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Got another one.
Now, may I ask just one question? When these suspensions are 3 days, do they have to do them 3 days in a row, or can they do 1 day a week for a month? So it isn't quite as painful for the payroll, for the people that work there that weren't guilty.
Councilmember Deschler, historically, they are typically done consecutively, although I look to the city attorney to.
I mean, we had an instance one time where we gave somebody a 30-day or something like that, and I was really upset because you let them do 1 day a week or 1 day a month or something for a while. I think you probably remember the case. Still reeling about it. So I'm just...
Maybe one time, yes, I do recall that now that you mention that.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and Council Member,
I don't have the code right in front of me on this, but my recollection is that there's some discretion in how the days are selected. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be 3 days in a row, but it could be.
Okay. Do you have a follow-up on that, or?
Well, I guess I'd prefer that they were, here comes my empathetic, for the people that work part-time jobs,
Right.
and they had no, no part of the, I guess, I'm okay with doing 1 day a week or 1 day a month for 3 months or something, so it isn't quite as painful for employees that expecting that income, because I suspect that they won't get paid while they're not working because the store's closed. So I don't know how the other council members feel about it, but you can't be totally creepy about it.
I guess I would say I would direct the city manager and city clerk to use their discretion and find what an appropriate penalty based on the tenor of our conversation. Thank you. Item number 7.5. We are considering civil penalties for violation of liquor license regulations by Bench Time Marketing Corporation doing business as Lube Liquor at 5924 West Broadway. I do know that the applicant has waived his right to a formal hearing, correct?
That is correct, Mayor
Yes,
Pro Tem.
that's what we have an email in front of us that where he has waived that. So I'll skip the whole preamble here, but could we hear the staff report?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Again, the circumstances are the same. The previous violation, the employee pled guilty to the violation of selling alcohol to an underage person. The licensee was notified of tonight's meeting. However, as you mentioned, he is unable to attend. The owner of the business has provided a written response and admitted to the violation. This is considered a first alcohol violation for this licensee, and consistent with city code, staff is recommending a $750 fine and a 1-day license suspension.
Okay. Any questions for Chrissy on that? Okay, we already know they're not doing the formal hearing, so let's open it up. Who wants to talk? Julie, you want to?
I don't have any comments to say, but I would like to make a motion to impose the $750 fine and a 1-day liquor suspension.
John?
I second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The motion carries. Jean,
Good evening.
check IDs, okay?
Check our yes, please. Okay. All right, well, good evening. Tonight we're here to talk about the city's 2019 and 2020 city budget, along with the proposed property tax levy. I will give a short presentation, and then I'll present the different resolutions that we're asking council to consider this evening. So this year, the City Council decided to project a 2-year budget to really focus on the city's long-term needs, as long-term planning as well as our capital needs. As part of that process, though, the city took a hard look at the way different funds are structured and the uses for which these funds were being used for. And in light of that, there were some internal service funds established, as well as the street fund. There was 2 different funds consolidated to make one street fund. Previously, we had a street maintenance fund and a street construction fund. That was consolidated into one fund. We also specifically identified a parks fund, parks capital fund, because as everybody recalls, there's a parks master plan that was developed, and we want to ensure that we truly are doing long-term planning for parks. In addition to that, the building fund, it was changed from being a capital project fund to an internal service fund. And then we also previously had a permanent improvement revolving fund, and we differentiated that to be able to specifically account for fleet as well as IT. As we continue with our long-term planning process, each one of these areas will become much better defined. So as the city worked through the preliminary budget process, we really were focusing in on the long-term planning for the major capital expenditures. The council established some different goals, as in, reinvesting in all of the parks to keep the neighborhood strong, keeping business areas vibrant with all of the Becker Park improvements, and also focusing on the police department needs. As you will hear just a little later in the presentation as well, there is one staff addition proposed for the 2019 budget, and that would be the addition of one police officer. As we continue through this budget process, we will be focusing more and more on the capital needs. The City Council has also reviewed a preliminary draft of financial policies, which is very important to update policies and to ensure everything is current and keeps things going so that there is a guidebook to go by. As we look at the 2019 and 2020 budgets, there were several general fund changes that we will share in a little more depth. But as we go through this, there is not significant changes within either year for the budget. Wages and benefit increases for 2019 and 2020. There was a significant increase in workers' compensation insurance. With the elections, we have a significant increase in 2020 because there will be 3 elections that the city does need to fund. The additional police officer. We're also focusing on adding 1% each year to the Park Capital Fund to focus in on the Parks Master Plan. There is an increase for the West Metro Fire District. There's not an increase in service levels, but this is primarily just an inflationary increase. And also having additional contribution into our capital funds as we focus on the long-term planning. And 2019 is the last year of a 3-year COPS grant, which is a federal grant program. And so in 2020, we will feel the impact of not receiving that 3-year, the grant funding that was received over a period of 3 years. Overall, for the general fund, for 2019, we have a revenue increase of about 1.46%. Now, as we look at this, the revenue increase will be different than your overall property tax levy increase because that encompasses not only the general fund, but also all of your capital funds as well. Some of the primary changes for the 2019 budget was the property tax revenue increase allocated to the general fund. We had a reallocation of state aid revenue. Essentially, it was an increase to the general fund, but a decrease to another fund. And then the allocation of the state revenue was just done to the opposing fund. Special assessments, revenue decreased about $43,000. And we're also showing an increase for police and fire pension aid of $44,000. However, that is a complete pass-through, and so you will also see an expenditure increase of the same amount. We have pawn shop transaction fees that will be decreasing as well in 2019, as there is one less pawn shop within the city. Recreation has some different revenue increases, very minor, to the tune of about $4,000. The community center of $13,000 revenue increase. Some miscellaneous increases of $9,600, and then we had some administrative and other transfers increase of $14,000. If you look at the overall expenditures, our most significant increase for 2019, of course, is within the police department, and that is due to the addition of one police officer. And then for 2020, the primary increase is essentially in the elections area, and due to the 3 elections that will be happening in 2020. There's always increases and decreases whenever you're looking at revenue and expenditures. For instance, in 2019, the website was completed. In 2018, the council had chose to add an additional dollar amount so that the city's website could be updated. And now that that website project is done, we're removing that revenue. And so that can be either used for other sources or just be an overall reduction in your expenditures. For administration, the service contract reduction is due to establishing the internal service funds that I spoke of before. And the primary reason for establishing internal service funds is so that you have a fair distribution across all funds for the use of the services that are being provided. Legal services, those also are showing a $27,000 decrease, and that was due to almost the end of the comprehensive plan update. So we do see some decreases there. The IT reallocation costs, that's also due to the establishment of a IT fund so that we can have all areas within the city paying their fair share. West Metro Fire District, like I mentioned before, there is an inflationary increase there. The Police and Fire Pension Fund is a pass-through, so we had a $44,000 revenue and expenditure increase. Under street maintenance, we needed to acquire some additional salt because, as you remember, we had a pretty bad winter last year. Recreation had some expenditure increases as well. And then we had the city building reallocation, and that is because of the establishment of an internal service fund. The 2020 budget, we are going to review this tonight. However, the council will be not asked to approve this budget, but rather just accept the budget. As we go into 2019, that's when the official approval of the 2020 budget will occur. So in 2020, there is a projected property tax revenue increase. However, we have a couple decreases. Like I mentioned before, it's the end of the 3-year COPS grant that was received in federal funds. And we're also at the end of the deed grant for our cadets. However, we do anticipate that our building and electrical permits will increase, as well as fines. In addition to that, there are some additional programming changes within recreation and the community center and the pool, where we're anticipating some increased revenue there. And there were some other miscellaneous inflationary administrative transfers as well that showed a small increase. The 2020 expenditures, wages and benefits are, of course, wages and benefits are one of the primary factors of a budget. The election staffing, because of the 3 elections that are coming up in 2020, is showing an increase of shortly over $114,000. Professional services and finance, we anticipate those services will see a decrease. And then also in legal, we have an additional $15,000 increase for the final completion of the code updates. We have an inflationary increase again for West Metro Fire District. And then we have other miscellaneous inflationary increases predicted as well. So if we look at the overall levy summary, we have several different areas. The city does not have, excuse me, let me back up there for just a second. The general fund is showing a small increase in 2019 and a little bit larger one in 2020. The EDA, as mentioned earlier at the EDA meeting, is showing 2% per year increase. And then we're also increasing within our capital improvement funds and internal service funds as well. Overall, for 2019, we're projecting a little over a 4% increase, and for 2020, shortly over 6%. To go into detail for where the levy lies for our capital improvement and internal service funds, as you'll see, in the shaded area that we have internal service funds, we have different allocations going for fleet and for information technology. That's a little bit different this year because it was previously all going to the Permanent Improvement Revolving Fund. We also have, the Park Improvement Fund was also originally part of the Permanent Improvement Revolving Fund as well. So we see, some different ups and downs going on with how the levy is allocated. But like I said, overall, we're projecting a 4% increase for 19 and a little over 6% for 2020. Now, tax rate calculation, I know there's a lot of numbers there. However, it is always good to focus just a little bit on this because of fiscal disparities. Fiscal disparities are where you have a group of pooled funds. because not every community within the metro area has a lot of the commercial industrial and those types of things. They may be a bedroom community. And so there's this fiscal disparities pool. And so there's a calculation that's completed for a contribution as well as a distribution. And that's from there is how you're actually able to calculate what the overall tax rate is. But bottom line is if you look at where the city tax rate is, down in the bottom section of the slide, you see the city tax rate in 2018 was about 50.42%, and we are projecting, because of tax capacity increases, as well as variances with the fiscal disparity contributions and distributions, for the overall tax rate to go down slightly. It's very, very slight. However, even when you do have the 4% levy increase, the tax rate itself is still decreasing. Now, what does that mean? What that really means is that the average valued home within the city of Crystal is about $196,000. And the taxable value of that home is approximately $176,400. And for that value of home, they can anticipate to see about a $30 increase for the year. And there's other, valued homes also listed on the slide here. However, we wanted to really focus in on the average valued home. So the overall budget timeframe, tonight we'll be asking the council to adopt the preliminary 2019 general fund budget, accept the preliminary 2020 budget, and also adopt the 2019 preliminary tax levy. On September 17th, we're going to be having another work session, really focusing in on long-term planning and the completion of a utility rate study. And the middle of October, we hope that we'll be in a position where the long-term plan, the utility rates, the 2019 fee schedule, as well as the financial management plan can also be adopted. On October 16th, we're also going to offer another opportunity for the public to provide any input they would like to have on the general fund budget. And then on December 4th, the council will be asked to review and adopt the final property tax and levy for 2019 and to accept the overall 2020 budget. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or share the different resolutions that we're asking to have approval for this evening.
I was just looking at the budget timeline and, for adopting fee schedules and, having conversation about utility rates and whatnot on October 16th, it seems like the public input should be a couple weeks after so they know what we've decided or what we're thinking about deciding.
We can certainly do that. Initially, the public input was really focused on the property tax levy itself.
Okay.
And so we can certainly, structure that time frame however you want. The primary reason for wanting to have the October date for the public input was to ensure that there was enough time for public input on the property tax levy because of the deadlines for filing those reports and for getting all that information submitted to the county and the state. Now, with the utility rates, we can have an additional meeting with that. We can back it up. We have time to decide on that.
Okay.
That isn't something that absolutely has to be done that evening.
Yeah, people just need a little time to kind of absorb the data.
Yep.
And be able to make comment. So, just something to kind of think about.
Other questions? Any other questions for Jean? Go ahead, John.
I don't have a question for Jean, but can we approve both motions all in one resolution?
So
So not only the
plus the EDA one, or you mean just the
including the EDA all in one motion?
Why?
So these are separate resolutions?
They're two resolutions, correct.
Prefer that you do it separately, but you can do it together, as long as you clearly state that it includes both.
Why do you prefer that we do it in two moves?
Typically, separate, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Go ahead,
Typically, resolutions are acted on separately, but I've been here and advised this body before that you can adopt more than one resolution in a single motion. So yes, you can do it, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion or comments or anything? Do you have a combined motion or a single motion? Either way.
I propose a combined motion of approving the 2019 proposed general fund debt budget, the 2019 preliminary property tax levy. I set the public input date for the 2019 budget and preliminary property tax levy, and accept the proposed 2020 general fund budget, as well as approving the 2019 proposed Economic Development Authority property tax levy.
Everybody got all that? Julie?
I'll second.
Sounds good. Any more discussion on any of this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, everyone who worked very hard on budgeting, which is very exciting. Item 7.7, the council considered the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 9 of the Crystal City Code. City Attorney, Mr. Gilchrist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and council members. You have seen this proposed amendment at least 3 work sessions. It amends primarily Chapter 9, your public safety provisions of the code, but it does have a couple of corrective changes to Chapter 4, which I'll address first. The first expands the definition of resident agent for the building, housing, and construction regulations section of the code. And also, this is an addition staff caught that since Chapter 4 amendment was included, there should be an update to the license fee renewal section to reflect the late fees that are currently indicated in your fee schedule. And so the request was to update the code language to reflect that. So that's what that provision does. Chapter 9 itself involves public safety in a few different realms. The first one is emergency management. The changes there are primarily to reflect the fact that the statutes that authorize or address this issue have moved over the years from referring to civil defense to more of a general emergency management approach. And so a number of the changes within Section 900 of the code reflect those statutory changes. The Section 905 on fire prevention, there are some updates to those references to the current codes regarding storage of flammable liquids, commercial cooking ventilation systems, and open burning regulations. Those changes came primarily at the request of your fire district. In Section 910, dealing with animal control, this by far had the more substantive changes to the code. If you recall, originally had a strikeout and underline amendment to this section, and then after further discussion from the council, decided it was better to approach it from a delete-all perspective, which in retrospect I think was a good direction, as it allowed me to more freedom to restructure the section to read in a more comprehensive manner. I think it's fair to say that the additions over the years of pot-bellied pigs and things like that created some inconsistencies in how the structure of the section was set up. So it allowed us to go back in and restructure it, add a chart as to when, and primarily a significant change in this from a kind of readability perspective is to separate out multiple animal licenses from commercial kennel licenses. And so those are separated along with the procedures associated with how you obtain those licenses. So again, that had by far the most significant changes, including, a number of changes that I'd be happy to get further into if you'd like. Otherwise, the final change was at the request of the city's prosecutor, to Section 925.01 regarding the inhalation and other intake of hazardous substances. There's, of course, always a challenge for the city to be clear as, and the state, frankly, to be clear as to which substances are prohibited from being inhaled or otherwise ingested for the purposes of essentially getting high. So rather than continuing to try to stay ahead of the curve of adding to the list of prohibited substances, I took council's direction, and instead there are still some items listed by primarily listing or referring to a state list that's in Minnesota rule on the substances. And frankly, the state has the same issue and in fact, the legislation directs that list be updated. I think it was at least every 2 years. So that should be the most current list that we have. but it also gives the city the flexibility of adopting additional items by resolution if it determines, and I would say based on the recommendation of your prosecutor, that there are substances that are not on the list but should be included as part of this prohibition. So with that, this matter is now before you for first reading. I would be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Questions on any of that? There's a lot there. I liked what you did with these inhaled substances and cleaning up the pet chart.
Yes.
So thank you.
Agreed.
Any other questions on this? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion. Nancy?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the following resolution, an ordinance amending chapters, oh, did I read the right one? Chapter 9?
Yep.
Okay, I'm always afraid I'm up to the wrong one. Chapter 9 of the Crystal City Code regarding public safety, including emergency management, fire prevention, animal control, and intoxicating inhaled substances, which we've really cut down. Thank you.
Olga?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's mercifully the last item on the agenda. Number 8, announcements. Let's see here. Mac Wildlife Area Grand Reopening Ribbon Cutting and Park Expo is Saturday, September 8th at 1 p.m. That's this upcoming Saturday. The City Council will hold a work session on Thursday, September 13th at 6:30 in Conference A at City Hall. Citizen input time will resume Monday, September 17th at 6 p.m. in Conference Room A at City Hall. The next City Council meeting is Monday, September 17th at 7 p.m. in the Council Chambers at City Hall. Note that that's a date change, that normally we're on Tuesdays, but we're on Monday that week. Crystal Business Association meets Wednesday, September 19th at Crystal City Hall in the Community Room. 2018 Diaper Need Awareness Week is September 24th through 29th. Donate diapers all September at Crystal Community Center. I've been waiting for this week all year because I have stacks of old diapers.
New, not
I mean, yes.
They must be new.
New diapers.
Unopened.
That my children have grown out of. The Kids Garage Sale is Saturday, September 29th from 7:30 to 11 a.m. at Crystal Community Center. Always a good time. The 4th annual Run for Rocco fundraiser is Saturday, September 29th from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. at Bassett Creek Park. That's a 5K race. Special Materials Drop-Off Day. This is an important day for anybody who's got some stuff collecting in the garage. It's Saturday, October 13th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Brooklyn Park Operations and Maintenance Facility at 8300 Noble Avenue North. Girl and Boy Scout troops are invited to lead the pledge at City Council meetings. Troops who are interested may contact City staff for information. And of course, all City Council meetings and work sessions are open to the public. Current and previous meetings are available for your viewing and listening pleasure at www.crystalmn.gov, the newly redesigned crystalmn.gov. With that, John, motion to adjourn?
No.
Oh.
I was just wondering if there was anyone in the audience that would care to speak to the Mac Park Wildlife reopening. Anyone?
Birds
Anyone? Anyone? Would anyone care to say something? Anyone?
And while John approaches, if I could, our Environmental Quality Commission members will be cleaning at the park this Saturday at 8 o'clock.
Oh, very cool.
We decided that this afternoon. So,
Mr.
Go home.
Mr. Recreation, I was going to try and come up with something funny, and then I blanked out.
Well, thank you for inviting me up because I wanted to say Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
And this gives me that opportunity. But anyway, no, Saturday is the ribbon cutting for Mac Park. And there'll be festivities all weekend, both Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 5. Zip line, climbing tower, lots of fun things to do. So
Lots of fun things.
Lots of fun things. So I encourage you to come out and partake in the events.
Now, the zip lining and the rock, that's just temporary for the
It is
open,
just
grand
temporary.
opening, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are working with
Three Rivers is bringing it
right.
out.
I should point out we are working with Three Rivers Park District. They do a phenomenal job with things like this, and they're bringing out all their toys to the park for
That'll
that
be
day.
fun.
All their toys.
Some of their toys.
And
Let me
it's free.
clarify.
All.
So are there any questions?
Another.
Oh, no.
Another.
Sorry,
She's very excited.
Sounds great.
I'll be.
Any other announcements?
My kids will too.
You have another
I
announcement?
do have one.
Go ahead.
Speaking of cleanup, and it's also on Saturday, September 8th at 10 a.m., we have a very dedicated group at Memory Lane Pond that they clean on a regular basis, so they'll be out at 10 in the morning on Saturday, September 8th. So I'm sure they can use some more hands, and then you can go over to Mac Park and hang out there.
Or clean up or do
Or clean
whatever.
up.
I just wanted to let everyone know that pro tem comes from the Latin pro tempore. The preposition pro means for, and tempore is the ablative of tempus, meaning time. So it means for the time. Now a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Absolutely. Nancy?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's get out of here.